Right. Hello. As you know, they ask for speakers at every Manchester Revit users group. In a moment of madness, I thought, why not? And here I am. Before I start, I'd just like to say I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation with a load of notes, and I thought I was going to be able to look at my notes, but it's the same screen, so I've got some text here and it's really small, so if I go horribly wrong, that's my excuse. Okay, so this talks about my favourite things in Revit, things that make my daily job easier, things I enjoy. I was a bit worried that this talk's going to be a little bit basic for MRUG, but I've been reassured it's fine, but just a word of warning, it's not high level. Okay, I should introduce myself. My name's Laura. I'm an architect at Fairhursts Design Group. I've been there for about a year now. I'm based at their office in Manchester, which is on King Street. I'm a huge fan of Revit. I've been using it since about 2010. I think it's vastly superior to AutoCAD for what I do anyway. Not all of my colleagues feel quite the same way. I do annoy them a bit with my enthusiasm sometimes. I'm hoping because you're all here, I won't be annoying you too much. I'm also quite enthusiastic about moose, but that's another talk. I just wanted to put a picture of a moose up because I think they're great. So, before I start, let me tell you a little bit about Fairhursts. FDG has been practicing architecture in the city of Manchester for about 125 years now. We've got around 70 staff in Manchester and Southampton, and our projects range from about $500,000 to over 200 million. We've got projects across most sectors, with a specialism in complex science projects. The practice started using Revit in about 2013, and considerable amount of time and effort later, about 90% of the projects are now BIM level 2. So this project is the one I'll be using to illustrate some of my points tonight. It's a project I've been working on for the last 8 months. It's a physics research facility in the southwest of England, and it's drawn in Revit 2015. So this is a floor plan. We've had some unique challenges. You can see here, we've had some, they're concrete walls. Yep, that's actually solid concrete. It's up to about 2.5 meters thick, and it's about 8 meters high. We've got a lot of plant rooms, and if you look at the red and the blue areas, they're trenches all across the ground floor, and some of those are up to 3 meters deep. To make our life easier while doing this, we've kept work sets to a minimum, and the families have all got nice, easy to understand names. The M&E is immense, and the user plant's even more complex. I'm really, really glad we're doing this in Revit, because the coordination has been intense. Okay, so tonight I'm covering shortcuts, colouring in, maintaining your style, finger pointing, and Dynamo. So I was always a big shortcut user with AutoCAD. I find it easier than memorising which little icon to click, or finding the icon and dragging it onto my cluttered screen. So I like working with my left hand on the keyboard and my right hand on the mouse. And when I moved to Revit, I wanted to keep using the shortcuts. So there are loads of shortcuts built into Revit, and lots of the Windows shortcuts work as well. Okay, this is where I try and get a video to work. Okay, so, oh no, I've done it wrong, brilliant. Right. Okay, so you probably know the middle mouse button zooms in and out if you roll the wheel, and if you hold it and move it, pans. Another one I use a lot is Control and Tab. If you hold down the Control button and press Tab, it'll move through open windows really, really quickly. I find it a lot more user-friendly than clicking on the little icon that's somewhere at the top of the screen and working out which window I want to use. Obviously, I've got loads open. I get quite confused. Also, one thing when I started using Revit that really annoyed me was the keyboard shortcut for Move. Anyone who's used AutoCAD's used to typing M and return, but for some reason Revit's decided MV's a better shortcut. I was really quite pleased when I discovered I can make my own shortcuts. So just in case you don't know how to use this, you click on the big blue R at the top, And then you go to Options, and then you go to User Interface, and then you click on your keyboard shortcuts. And then you get a big nice list here, and it actually tells you all the shortcuts that are preset. You can scroll down and find which one you want to add to. Or you can type it in the top here. Then you click on it, and at the bottom here you can put in your new keys. So I always put in M. So then I assign it, click out of that, and then we're good to go. So just a test to see if it works. Yeah, so it's like AutoCAD all over again, but obviously better. Also, I want to mention that Control and Tab is really great when you've got a section box like this and you want to adjust it, you know, between your floor plan and your 3D model. So, I also assign keyboard shortcuts for things that I use all the time. So, for example, I've got XX here for revealing hidden elements. And I don't know, I just find it really difficult to click on that little light bulb. So I use this, and also XX turns the function off again. That saves me absolutely ages. I've also done Shift and V for pasting a line to the same place, because that's several clicks, and I do that quite a lot, so I've set up my own keyboard shortcut. So we know in Revit you can't go wildly deleting things. In CAD you can, because it's just one view and it doesn't matter. But of course in Revit you can't do that because it's a model. You might be removing something important. So what do you do if you've got a plan, for example, and you've got a really annoying line there? You can select it and right-click and hide in view, but if it's a floor, for example, it hides the whole floor, obviously, and then you can have more than an annoying line in view. You can override graphics in view and change it white, but every single line on your object will be coloured, and again, that's not something you always want. So a keyboard shortcut I really like is LW. If you hit LW, it brings up your Modify Line Work dialog. Then at the top here, you can just choose Invisible Lines, and then you can go back and you can click on your irritating lines. Oh, that's great, isn't it? And voila, there we go. I like this one. I probably use it a lot more than I should, but you know what deadlines are like. The final keyboard shortcut I'm going to talk about is WT. WT, you may know, tiles your windows. There we go. And what's even cooler is if you've got, for example, 5 windows, but you only want to work with 2 of them, once you've tiled, then you just minimize the windows that you don't want. There we go, and you hit WT again, and then you've got the 2 windows you do want side by side. I think that one's cool. Okay, and in summary, the great thing with Revit is you can use window shortcuts as well as the built-in ones. Control and Tab scrolls through your windows. You can alter the preset Revit shortcuts to suit. You can create new shortcuts. LW adds for modifying a line, and in the case I showed you, it makes it invisible. And WT for tiling your windows. Okay, moving on to colouring in. Now, everybody knows that colouring in, it's a major part of an architect's job. Pretty colours, they can sell a scheme, you know, and they make it easy for the layperson to understand what's going on, and the architect. So Revit's really good at colouring in. It doesn't go over the edges, and if you get it wrong, you can change it. You can set up various colour schemes based on any parameter you want within your rooms. For example, you can do an area one, and that's you assign a range for that, a room type, floor finish, etc. I mainly use them for floor finishes and room type diagrams. Apparently, you can set up schemes for spaces and zones too, but as I'm an architect, I don't use those. Okay, another video. So, just in case you don't know, here's how you set up a colour scheme. We click on Colour Scheme here, and I'm going to select Rooms. So when you start a project, you'll only have one choice in this list. You can choose to duplicate it and amend it as you do with many things in Revit. So when you've chosen one, you can rename it, and then you can change what parameter it's colouring in by looking at this drop down here. So we can choose any parameter within our rooms that we want to set the colour. I mean, for example, I've already said floor finish, department or area, and as I've already said with area, you assign a range. So if we look at floor finish here, the parameter that's been chosen is floor finish. Now Revit has automatically picked up all the information that I've put within the room in my model already, and it colours it in automatically. And if you click this link here, it includes the elements from the linked files. Okay, if you haven't added any information in the field, you're going to get a blank screen here, so you can add new ones. I've helpfully called it new. And then when I click OK, sorry, I should say you can change the colours as well. And when you click OK, it'll automatically colour my plan in. If I've decided I've got the wrong colour, I've put the wrong parameter underneath, I can click to change it, and then Revit will automatically update my plan. So I'm going to choose new on this one, and then Revit automatically updates it. You can, of course, choose to tone down the colours, and then also don't forget to add a legend, and that's underneath annotate. Right. Okay, so as I've said, I like colouring in. It also makes diagrams readable at a glance. Occasionally I think, I'd really like a coloured table, but Revit doesn't actually have a function, not that I've found anyway, for colouring putting more than two colours in one column on a table. And it's actually a real pain in the neck using the conditional format to colour an entire row in. And you can't just put a filled region on a sheet in Revit either, for some reason. I've no idea why. I want a filled region. Okay, so how did we do this table here? Because as I've already said, you can't paste a filled region, you can't even paste a filled region from a view onto a sheet. I'll show you. So you can't cut and paste from a view onto a sheet because you get this error message. So can we work around this? Of course we can. I've already shown you the picture and it wouldn't be my favourite things otherwise. So the first thing we do is we draw a detail line onto the sheet. And when we've done that, we place the detail line into a group. I think it's kind of strange the way you can group one thing with itself in Revit. But anyway, now we can paste from the sheet onto the view. There we go. Once that's there, we can edit it as normal, and because we're in a view, we can add a filled region. There's a filled region. Now, when we go back to the sheet, hopefully this filled region miraculously appears. And then we can ungroup it, delete the line. You might have some trouble with scaling, which is why I'm using a solid filled region on this. You can colour it, copy and paste it, scale it, do all the things you normally do with a filled region, and then you've got a filled region on a sheet. It's great for adding colours to your schedules if that's what you want to do. And there we've got the beautifully bright coloured example once again. That's because the client wanted the room suiting and he wanted really obvious colours. So it's not because I'm colourblind. Okay, so summarising. The colour makes things simple. You can have numerous colour-coded drawings. You can set your colour scheme by choosing which parameter setting the colour. And you can add a coloured region to a sheet. That's by drawing a line on the sheet and grouping it. Then you copy it to a plan and add the region there. Don't forget your legend. Okay, when you're working on a project, it's good to have all the drawings you issued looking fairly similar, not like they're all cobbled together in a really haphazard manner. And that's one reason I really like view templates. It doesn't have to just be for one project, of course. It can be for your entire office. If the view templates are set up as an office standard, every new project can use them. So everything that goes out the office looks the same. I think that's a good idea. Not surprisingly, so this one worked. Not surprisingly, view templates can be found under the View tab. And here you get 3 choices. The first one is to apply an existing template or a preset style to whichever view you're on. You can create a view template from a view you like the style of by having it as the active window and then clicking the second option. Or thirdly, you can edit an existing template. Now, view templates are really powerful tools. They've got all the choices you've got of a normal window, so you can manipulate the colours, the scale, the shadows, etc. So once you're happy with the look, say I like this section here, I can create my view template from there, and I'm going to give it a sensible name. Call it GA sections 1 to 100. Click OK. You can decide what's included. So if you want the same look but a different scale, untick that box. If this was a floor plan, you could untick the, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. You could untick the view range. Okay, so we can apply it. Oh, okay, so as I was saying, you can untick that. It depends which tick button you choose as to what's included within the view template and which isn't. And plan views, you get a different set of choices. So, and then I can go to a new section, click apply. Great, all my sections are all going to miraculously look the same with a lot less effort than it takes on AutoCAD. So I find it, yeah, it's a great time saver and saves annoyance of any inconsistency by different people working on the same job. They're great for things like room elevations and for those of you who do healthcare C-sheets. And they, you've got the same line styles, the same shadows, the same whatever you want. You don't even have to check, although you should always check your drawings. And one thing, remember, a change to a view template affects every single view it's assigned to. So, in case you've already forgotten, view templates ensure consistency. You can decide which functions the view template sets. As I've said, change affects every view it's assigned to, so be careful. It's always a tick button. Give your view template a simple and explanatory name. Obviously 1 to 100 GA is better than template 7. The next feature I want to talk about very briefly is the finger pointing button. So, you know what it's like when you've got a project, somebody moves something. It's really annoying. So nobody knows anything about it. It's always somebody else. It's a mystery. So a few months ago, a colleague came up to me and he said, "Do you know about the finger pointing button?" I was really confused. He said, "Yeah, click on work sharing." So that's down there. I've helpfully outlined it in red. So you choose any of those options and then you hover over the offending element. Sure enough, there's your scapegoat. So work sharing tells you who used the element last. It's not really for finger pointing. And I would like to say that any questions about work sharing, ask my colleague Mark, the beardy guy at the back. He'll be really pleased to answer. Oh, he's not run out. Okay, so finally I want to mention Dynamo. Now, some of you will have been at the MRUG Dynamo introduction a few months ago, so you'll know what this is. And some of you will have been at the first Manchester Dynamo meeting a few weeks ago. For those of you who've got no idea what I'm talking about, let me really quickly tell you how awesome Dynamo is. Dynamo is what I think you can call a visual programming language. It uses blocks of code that are linked together to create a running program. And it can get Revit to do things that Revit can't do otherwise. It can get Revit to talk to programs such as Excel, Rhino and Navisworks. It's a free add-on up until Revit 2017. And then from 2017 onwards, it actually comes as part of Revit. The bulk of the code is drag and drop, ready-made code blocks, so it's like programming for children. Now, I'm a Dynamo beginner, but I can already see its potential. We've started using it at work for functions like getting Revit and Excel to talk to each other, both ways. It's been really good for room data sheets. We've been able to export from Revit to Excel, send the sheet off to external consultants, get it back, still in Excel format, and then feed it back into Revit. And it saved us hours of work, even though we're not totally up to speed with it yet. I know there are other programs out there that can do this, but Dynamo's totally free. We wrote the code ourselves, and we can tweak it as we wish. Yeah, you can do many other things with Dynamo as well if you've got the time and patience to write the code. You can strip your models instantly, or you can leave a view, a viewer a sheet, a cover page if you wish. It can renumber your doors, your rooms, and it can do complex calculations. For my job, the main application I'm excited about is the automation, setting up sheets, producing room elevations, renumbering doors, at the click of the button once you've got your code. So on here you can see that every section of the code, we've color-coded it and labeled it. So one great thing is the user doesn't actually need to fully understand the script. Once it's written, someone else has written this, and the user, me, just needs to select a few basic things and click run. I know which bits I have to mess around with because it's color-coded. Also, I've been told to mention you can write your own code blocks using Python, IronPython, which my programming friends and relatives insist is really powerful because NASA use it. Python, that is, not Dynamo. Okay, so I've got a quick example of Dynamo at work here. So, as you know, Revit numbers the doors as you place them. And it can be quite a laborious task when you want to renumber them. Although I suppose at least Revit is good enough to warn you if you've got duplicate numbers. For this script, we decided that we wanted the room number in the door number. And on the left you can see the script and it's color-coded. So this bit here tells us which packages we need, so if we've got any nodes missing, we know where to find them. The script starts by getting all the doors in the project. And then it filters the doors. I've chosen to do the ground floor only. It filters out the openings. And here we've split the internal and external doors. They're going to be numbered separately. Then this one, it's designed to give low priority to corridors because I wanted the rooms to determine the numbering, not the corridors. It's using that. It does it by the 2-room parameter if anybody's interested. Then we've got a few more blocks of code here. You can see what they do because they're all helpfully labelled. So all I have to do is click the run button and then we wait for it to work. And there we go. So all my doors are renumbered. Oops, sorry, just breaking my glass. So my favourite one that we use at work is the one I've mentioned already. It strips the sheets, because I'm issuing a model almost once a week. Stripping the sheets is a real pain in the neck, and it leaves the cover sheet, so I've got my issue on there, but everything else is stripped, so that's really, really useful. So, just to summarise, it's drag and drop programming. It makes Revit do things it can't do normally. Automation, that's the great one, that's the thing I'm really excited about. Yeah, it's the future. To finish, I'd really like you, don't try and avoid my least favourite things. So do not overmodel. Do not forget to synchronise regularly. Do not have lots of work sets. I can't stress enough, work sets are not like AutoCAD layers. Keep the numbers low. And finally, finish with a quote from Jurassic Park. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Thanks.